Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I thought that I would do a quick wrap up of some of the books that I've been reading since my last reading wrap up, which was early on in the year. I have been reading quite slowly this year, which I am fine with, but I think part of it is just sort of spreading myself thin over several books at the same time, which I have talked about previously that finding that balance between reading several books at the same time and reading very concentratedly. And like usual, I'm sort of battling those balancing points. But anyway, I have 5 books to talk about to you. I guess we'll start with the only fiction book in this pile, and that is Samlade Verk by Lydia Sandgren. This has recently been published in an English translation. I don't remember the translator's name, but I will put a link to the English version in the description below. This is a special novel to me because it's set in my hometown, Gothenburg, or Göteborg in Swedish, and I think a lot of my enjoyment for this book comes specifically because of its locality and the specific details in geography and locations and history. It's just sort of, I think it's a fun book in itself. It's a kind of character portrayal over a longer period of time. We follow Martin Berg, who is a publisher, and he has been working as a publisher for several years. He's a publicist. He's the owner of the publishing house, and it's not big or anything, but it's been doing quite well over the years, and he's looking back on his life and specifically looking at his relationship with his wife, and sort of how they came to know each other and the development of their relationship. And further on, you know that she has left, that she's gone missing. No one knows where she has been living her life for the last few decades. And another portion of the book is about his friend, Gustav Becker, who became a famous artist. And so these 3 people are the center of the book, and we follow them through different ages, as very young and sort of adolescent to young adult and even almost retirement age. So we follow them over a good spectrum of their lives and the ways that they intertwine. We also see several other characters, in particular Martin Berg's children, and I thought it was really fun to follow the various plot points in this book, but I think the plot itself is a bit too meandering for my taste. Like, there is kind of a point to the structure of the book, the fact that it is kind of so meandering and going off various tangents is kind of a reflection of the narrator or from Martin Berg's mind. But I can understand the structure, but I don't necessarily love it. I feel like it doesn't completely come together for me. But I enjoyed the portrayal of Gothenburg so much that it was a very fun experience for me. So I would recommend it, but it is quite a long book, so I don't know if you are okay with a kind of stream of consciousness styled historical archive type book with character portrayal at its core, this might be something worth checking out. So there's that one. And then I've been reading quite a lot of nonfiction lately. I don't know why I've been more drawn to nonfiction. So another Swedish book that I read recently is Expeditionen, Min kärlekshistoria by Bea Usma, and this has also been translated into English. I think it's just called The Expedition, My Love Story, or something like that. So it's a very direct translation, I think, from the title of the Swedish. This is about a Swedish adventure polar expedition that didn't succeed very well, let's put it like that. And it's sort of been lost to history. I hadn't heard of this particular expedition before picking this book up, but I love reading about polar expedition and Arctic environments, so I knew that I would like this one. This book is partly about the expedition and sort of the leading up to the point, financing it, and learning about the men involved. Is partly telling the story, and particularly because there are so many unknown factors, she's trying to sort of piece together things from various documents and looking into various other books that have been written about this expedition. But it's also a book about obsession and about her particular obsession with this trip, with this polar expedition, and I just really enjoyed reading this book. I felt it was completely captivating, and if you are someone who enjoys reading these types of books, then I would definitely urge you to pick this one up as well. Like I said, it is a book about a fairly unknown expedition of the time, and it was very unsuccessful, but I think the mystery surrounding it was really lended itself to this type of investigation type narrative that this book is. So really enjoyed it. Love reading about people being obsessed about something and dedicating several years to this one thing. Next we have The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. It is about transitioning and transforming. So Maggie Nelson is both talking about the transitioning of her partner, Harry, and of dualities of gender and of sort of gender identification and body and all of those things, but she's also herself pregnant while this book unfolds. And so it's a book about bodies transforming generally, with both of these two stories being told. And it's a book about sex and sexuality, and a book about relationships and love, and of dependence and codependence, and just a lot of things that she's a fantastic writer. And I think there were just some sections in this were just so beautifully conveyed, especially with those parallels of her own body changing and sort of having ownership of your own body, especially carrying a child, and feeling also like an object because of being kind of a vessel, and mirroring that with trans bodies and the way they have so often been controlled and pushed in various directions from society and from healthcare perspectives. So just a lot of things to think about, and I've been reading kind of other things that kind of go hand in hand with this book. I will definitely want to read more Maggie Nelson in the future. I've already bought Bluets by her as well. And then the next one I have is Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. I want to talk more about this book, and I might do a single review for this because it is very close to my heart. I identify as ace, and because of that it was this is very close to home, and because of that I had a very personal, strong reaction to it. And I buddy read this with Oliver, and I couldn't be happier to have such a fantastic buddy reader to read this book with and to experience it with. I definitely want to talk more about this, but let's just put it like this. This book should be read by everyone, because whether or not you identify as asexual, you will be confronted with all of the questions in some way related to this book, like whether or not you choose to have relationships or sex, and your sexuality is something that you're confronted with it in every day in various ways. There's just no way to be neutral on the topic, and I think, as I said, whether or not you identify as ace, you will find food for thought in this book. Specific discussions on words and language and how much they shape the way we interpret the world. It was kind of an emotional reading experience for me. But regardless, as I said, even if you don't identify as ace, I guarantee you will find food for thought for yourself, but also how you meet other people in the world, how you push your expectations on them. If you say things like your other half, if the suggestion that you will eventually find the one, that there's just this implication that you will not be whole until you have a significant other, and that it has to result in kids, and all of those expectations that is so easily pushed on people. Just take a moment to consider what they mean and whether or not you actually stand by them. So I think I very warmly recommend this book, and I hope more people will read it and think about it and truly consider what it has to offer. So there's this one. Lastly, I have also recently read Constructing a Nervous System by Maggie, by Margo Jefferson. This is a really interesting book where Margo Jefferson is writing her memoir, but she's also reflecting on the construction of memoirs. So it's kind of meta in that aspect, and I think I talked about it in a recent video where I recommended it as well. Writers on Writing or something like that. So I will put a link to that below where I talked a little bit more about this. But I really liked Margo Jefferson's voice. I think there's just this one example when she talks about a Ella Fitzgerald song and lyric, and how she reacted to it as a kid and how she's re-listening to it as an adult. And there was just something about the way she conveyed that memory that really stuck with me, and similarly with other parts of the book. As I said, I really liked her voice, and I will definitely read more of her work. I have both on Michael Jackson and Negroland, which is her other two previously published books. On a personal level, again, I've reacted to it, so I think I could probably say that for most of these books, but in particular these three books just for me personally, they were fantastic, and I would strongly recommend them, but also I reacted to them in a very personal way, and I don't know that I can convey quite the extent that I enjoy them. But pick this one up. Everyone should pick it up. So that was what I want to talk about today. I hope you've had a fantastic Easter if you celebrated, or if you had some time off. I hope spring has been treating you well so far. Let me know what you've been reading and enjoying lately. I would love to chat with you in the comments. I hope you're doing well and you're taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.